Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. Sorry I'm getting a little late start this morning. I was having a little trouble connecting to the internet this morning, but I think we're all good now. We're looking at Genesis 1 as we begin the new year. We thought we would begin with the book of beginnings. That is the meaning of Genesis. Remember in verse 1, it just said, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. There is no doubt about who does it in the Bible. It's God. God's there. God creates, God does it. There's a lot of questions it doesn't answer. It doesn't answer how long a day is, for example, in the creation story. It doesn't give detailed scientific explanations how creation happened. But there's no doubt from the book of Genesis who does it. God's in charge. God's doing this. God's making it. And in verse 2, we looked at yesterday, and God's come down, his spirit, his ruach, is hovering over the waters of the earth, and it's void. It's chaotic. It's without order. And God's going to come down, and he's going to bring order, which he always does. And I want to read verse 3. And this is the first day of creation. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. So there's going to be a formula here in the creation story. God speaks, something happens, God looks at it, that's good. And it's the formula that he will go through all the days. And I've kind of put up day 1 is light. God creates light. Now, what you're going to discover is that he hasn't created the sun or the moon, or the stars until day 4. But God himself creates light first. Well, you're going to have light to have the sun and the stars and the moonshine and like that. You're going to have light. So God creates light. Light also shines upon the darkness. And light always brings order. And there's a lot of imagery about light and darkness in the Bible. If you realize Isaiah, which we quote at Christmas time, the people who walk in darkness have seen a great light. John contrasts light and darkness to go from those who walk in wickedness versus those who walk with God. And so light was important, and it was the first thing that he creates, and he sees that it's good. The next day, he's going to create the sky. And again, God's going to speak, and then the waters separate, and then there's the sky, what we know as the sky. And he sees that it's good on the second day. On the third day, God's going to cause some land to come up from the waters. He's going to give land for us, what we live on now, and there's going to be vegetation that's going to happen. He's going to, the trees and the vegetables and the fruits and all of those are going to come on day 3. He's going to order that, and he's going to speak it into existence, and he's going to see that it is good. And then on day 4, he creates the sun, the moon, and the stars. And again, he calls them into existence, and he sees that they're good. On day 5, he creates the birds and the fish and the sea creatures. And obviously, that was important, and he sees that it's good. On day 6, he creates the animals and humans for that. And so, some people talk about the 7 days of creation. He actually created the world in 6 days, and he rested on the seventh. But I want you to notice how one day is dependent upon the other. For example, day 1 and day 4 are necessary. You've got to have light before you have the sun, the moon, and the stars. So day 1, he creates light. And then on day 4, which is dependent upon the creation of day 1, which you see the order, then you have the sun, the moon, and the stars. So day 1, day 4. Day 4 is dependent upon day 1's creation. And the same thing happens with day 2. If I can get it. Day 2, he creates the sky and he separates the waters down. Well, on day 5, he creates the birds, the fish, and the sea creatures. Without a sky, there's no place for birds. Without the sea being put into order and having order in it, there would be no place for the sea creatures and the fish to be in there. And then on day 3, he has the earth and the land come from the water. He creates vegetation. Well, if you don't have vegetation, then the animals and humanity's not going to make it. We have to eat. The animals have to eat. We have to eat. And so all those day 6 is dependent upon what happened on day 3. It's very interesting to look at how they build on each other. I do want to point out to you what happened on day 6, because I think it's very important. It says, and God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move among the ground, and the animals, each according to its kind, and it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds, and God saw that it was good. Then he's going to do this. And God said, Elohim, Adonai, says, let us make mankind in our image. When we talked about the plural, here it is again. God said, let us make mankind, or humanity, in our image. Very much plural. Again, just want to point that out. I believe it to be the Trinity. We talk to my Jewish friends, they'll tell you it's the heavenly host he's talking to. But I want you to look at it. He says, let's make it mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea, and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures, and move along the ground. God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Very interesting. God says in order to create them in our image, we have to create them both male and female. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the earth and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, they will be yours for food. And all the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food, and it was so. And God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 6th day. Now, it's very interesting. Day 1, he makes the light. That's good. Day 2, he creates the sky. That's good. Day 3, he creates the earth and vegetation. And that's good. Day 4, he creates the sun, the moon, and stars, and that's good. Day 5, he creates the birds and the fish and like that. And he creates the animals, and that's good. But when he creates humanity, male and female, He looks at it and he says, this is very good. This is very good. It is different than the other creation. Apostle Paul tells us in Ephesians that God created this whole world, these whole universes, because he wants a family. And that family is us. He did all this creation because he wants to have fellowship with us. He created the heavens and the earth. He did all the ordering in the earth. He did everything so that we could be here on earth and so we could have fellowship with him. He also has given us stewardship of the earth. We're to be good stewards of the earth, and I don't think we've been great stewards of the earth. And I think that's one of the things I think that probably as believers we need to probably be stronger about is how do we, take care of our earth, and how do we take care of the animals and the creatures that God has given under our domain. And we're to take care of them. We're caretaker. But I do like in today is how God ordered the creation, and they all meshed together. But when it comes to humanity, he looks and says, hey, this is very good. This is exactly what I wanted. And I don't know about you, but it gives me comfort in all these chaotic times to know that God created the world, that he brings order to the world, and we were created for a purpose. And that purpose was to have fellowship with God. And God's given us all the worlds. He's done all this creation because he wants to have me and you in his family. I hope today that will warm your heart. I hope today that you will spend some time with God, because that is why you were created. Well, we're going to go on with Genesis. Tomorrow we're going to talk about day 7. And I did a whole week on day 7 several months ago, but we're going to kind of revisit that tomorrow and look at the Sabbath, the Sabbath, and look at how important that is. So I hope you have a very wonderful day.